speaking, it relaxes them, makes it a lot easier to speak. That is my recommendation. For me, the table topics is the most fun part, or at least should be the most fun part of every Toastmasters meeting. I always look forward to table topics. Table topics master, take that time to prepare the topics in advance, and you can be very creative. You can use numbers, you can use colors, you can use props. It's your choice to be as creative as you want to in choosing the topics for that specific meeting. Also, please take a look at the agenda. How much time is allotted to you for the table topics? For instance, if you have 10 minutes allotted to table topics, that doesn't mean you can actually have 5 speakers. Remember, you're going to have people speaking for a minimum of 1 minute, maximum of 2 minutes. And if you just do straight calculation, 10 divided by 2, that's 5. But that doesn't mean you can have 5 speakers. Why? Because you're going to let the audience know what table topics is about, and that takes time. When people finish speaking, by the time you're calling up other speakers, that will take time. By the time you deduct the time taken at the beginning, the time taken transitioning between one speaker to the other, and your conclusion, you'll notice that maybe you can pick 3 or even 2 speakers for a time of 10 minutes. I know that sounds strange, but you need to be able to think about these things. Nonetheless, that doesn't mean you should only have 3 topics. Why is this? Because life happens. For our meeting, we may have 3 prepared speeches and only 2 speakers show up, or maybe even 1 speaker show up. Usually, it's the table topics that will get more time allotted. That means even if on the agenda it's 10 minutes, you may end up having 15 or 20 minutes. Hopefully, it's not so bad that you allotted 20 minutes, but you could have 15 minutes. Prepare more questions than you need for that specific day. Also, be prepared to know that they may reduce the number of topics that you can actually ask. Maybe you do have time for 3 speakers, but because we're running low on time, the table, not the table topics master, the Toastmaster of the day, or maybe someone else that is in charge will inform you that you can only take 2 speakers or perhaps even 1. Please be prepared to take only 2 speakers or maybe 1. Don't feel upset. You put in all that time to prepare, but you're not going to be able to get all those speakers. It's okay. Prepare thoroughly. That is the most important thing. These are the things you do before the meeting. Now, the day of the meeting, what should you do? First, please show up early. Why is this important? When you show up early as the table topics master, you get the opportunity to meet guests. This is vital to ensure that you play your role effectively. When you get to meet guests, you can ask them for their names. Aside from your normal proper introduction, having proper conversation, get their names and inform them about the table topics portion of the meeting, how much fun it is, how it prepares you for life. It trains your brain in an instant to be able to speak on virtually any topic. Encourage them to want to participate and seek their permission. After you've told them how much fun it is and how it prepares them for life and how you, if you could, will actually want to participate in table topics, ask if they are willing to participate. Because if a guest says they are not interested, please don't call them up. I have been to meetings where guests were called up. They said no. Table topics master wanted to encourage them, began the applause, and the entire room continued with the applause, but the guests insisted that they were not going to speak. And it just created this awkward atmosphere in the room. Some people are nervous. They do not want to speak, and they've made up their mind. Don't create an uncomfortable situation by trying to coerce them into speaking. Rather, Persuade them from the start of the meeting to speak. Let them see how much fun, the excitement, and let them know it's okay to fail. This is the environment to fail. That is why we're Toastmasters. Please don't come from the angle where you're saying it is scary, you don't want to do it. I'm so glad I'm the table topics master. I don't get to speak. And then after that, you now ask them to speak. No, no, don't come from that angle. I've seen that done repeatedly. Please don't do that. Let them know it's fun, it's exciting, it's great training, and then get their buy-in. If you can get volunteers at the beginning, it makes it so much easier later. When you're introduced during the course of meeting, please, Toastmaster Umi, do you mind muting your device? Thank you. If you're not speaking, please mute your device. Thank you so much. When you're introduced by the Toastmaster of the day to anchor your segment, table topics portion, you come up and explain what table topics is. An opportunity to speak on a topic you're not aware of in advance, minimum of 1 minute, maximum of 2 minutes. And when you come, depending on how you design it, that's when you'll be given the topic, or you state the topic before calling someone up to speak, depending on your design. You can briefly explain and then call them up. Please let them know exactly what the timer is. And if they are guests, especially first-time guests, let them know that when they see the green card, it does not mean they should stop. Reiterate what the timer said at the beginning. Green card means you've used 1 minute, you can keep speaking. Yellow card means you've used 1 minute, 30 seconds, you can keep speaking. Red card means you've used 2 minutes, you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Emphasize it for first-time guests. When that is done, get your volunteers. As a table topics master, I highly encourage that you mix it up between members and guests. I have been to meetings where they focus majorly on guests. Personally, I think that's not good because members also need to know how to speak when they are not aware of the topics in advance. Members have paid to learn and grow. Why would you omit them from the beautiful opportunity of participating during the table topics portion of the meeting? I highly recommend that you mix between members and guests. And ideally, start with a Toastmaster. Why? So they show the guests how it's usually done. And not just a Toastmaster that has the experience of table topics. Because some Toastmasters are new. Please don't call those. They may not be aware of what table topics is like. Unless you know that they know what it's like, then by all means, you can go ahead and call them. That's an ideal situation. If it's not ideal, for instance, every other Toastmaster, they're playing roles or they're giving prepared speeches, perhaps you can start with guests, but that is the last option. When you go through all your volunteers, those volunteering right there or those you got earlier, then if your club does voting for the best table topic speaker, you can either, depending on the structure in your meeting, ask the timer for the times and reiterate the names of all the speakers so everyone in the room knows their names. And you can commence the voting process before you hand over to the Toastmaster of the day, or hand over to the Toastmaster of the day, and the Toastmaster of the day handles the entire voting process. Once that is done, you are absolutely done for the day. Please note, your intro and your conclusion, when all speakers are done, you are delivering a speech. Have an introduction, have a body, have a conclusion. Every time you come up to the lectern or the virtual screen, it's an opportunity to get better as a speaker. Do not squander that opportunity. Once you hand over to the Toastmaster of the day, your job as the table topics master for that day, done. You can go back, relax, enjoy the rest of the meeting. In summary, this is what the table topics master does before and during the meeting. Does anyone have a question? You can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box and I'll read and attend to the questions as best as I can. And if I can't, we'll see where we can get a response. Any questions? And you may also, oh, fantastic. Toastmaster Kudus, please, can you go ahead?
Hi, Toastmaster John. Good evening. Okay, it's not what I want to say is not even a question. I just wanted to comment on something you mentioned about the table topics master preparing many questions beforehand. So I think I've played table topics master in a club where I did not know that I will have 30 minutes. So I did not know I would have 30 minutes. And I saw the agenda few minutes to the meeting. I saw 30 minutes. I was like, but I was just very lucky that I had many questions. If not, I would have been 1 year at that time. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Kudus. Please be prepared with extra questions. He just gave us a very good example of what happened to him. And we have a guest. I am thoroughly impressed that we have guests at these trainings. Please, Abolaji, go ahead and ask your question or give your comment.
Thank you very much. Good evening again, Toastmaster John. You mentioned during your intro that for table topics, you could use numbers, you could use colors. I don't actually understand that. Where does that come in? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, our guest, Abolaji. What I mean by numbers, you can ask whoever you call up, please pick a number from 1 to 5. And based on their numbers, you ask a question. And you could tell them pick a color, red, blue, green. You give them options. They pick from the color, you ask a question, or you could have items and tell them to pick an item, and the item determines the question. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic. It's just about being creative and letting them have fun. Yourself have fun, and those who are speaking have fun as well. That's what it's about. Any other question before we move along? Okay, I see something just dropped in the chat box. Yes, you are very much welcome. Toastmaster Grace, please go ahead.
Hi, Toastmaster John. So my question is this: what's the ideal practice? Because you have instances where when we have the active listening project, people tend to focus more on summarizing after a table topics session. So what's the ideal practice, taking away the active listening project? Should we summarize after the session, or should we summarize after each speaker speaks? Or how do we go? What's the ideal way to go about it?
Oh, fantastic. Let me just confirm that I understand what you're saying. You're saying, should you summarize what the speaker delivered as a speech after each speech or after the session? Is that correct?
Yeah, after each speech. So do I tend to summarize, do I pick out the light bulb moments, what stood out for me? Or do I wait till after every respondent has spoken and then I just tend to give a summary of what was being said? So what's the ideal way to go about it? Because I know most people focus on this when they're doing active listening projects and because I listened actively, these were what the respondents say. But in situation where I'm handling the table topic session and I'm not doing any active listening projects, I'm just doing the session. What's the ideal way to go about it? I hope you have some clarity now.
Yes, thank you so much, Toastmaster Grace. I'll say two things. One, look at your time. If you have a lot of time, perhaps your Toastmaster Kudus, and you suddenly see the agenda 2 minutes before the meeting, you have 30 minutes for table topics. You can go ahead and summarize after every speaker. Why? Because you're being creative in the way you're eating up the 30 minutes. However, if you don't have much time, you may not be able to touch on each speech. Let's go back to having a lot of time. When you have a lot of time and some of the speakers said things that were really funny, perhaps, you can now repeat that, which makes the audience laugh again. This is a master skill for a speaker. Referencing things other speakers have said as a way to segue to the next speaker. It helps you connect more with the audience. If you see that you want to improve that skill, then practice it. If you already have it and you want to connect more and time permits, utilize that. But if time does not permit, by all means, go as quickly as you can through every speaker. And then at the end, whatever time you have left, quickly utilize that time to summarize and hand over to the Toastmaster of the day. In summary, it depends on you and what time permits. Does that help, Toastmaster Grace?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I'm glad. Okay, we'll touch on what's in chat box before we move on. We have something from Toastmaster Ogona. Is informing guests and members before the time, not removing the impromptu aspect, especially when I could guess that the questions will likely come from the theme of the day. In any case, I may not know the question, but I can mentally prepare for it. It depends on what you're trying to achieve, Toastmaster Ogona. It's a great question. Because you've observed that maybe too many people are nervous and they shy away from this part of the meeting, saying the topic before they come gives them a bit of time to relax. It's not like it gives them that much time, maximum of maybe 1 minute. It still doesn't take away from the impromptu aspect. Because one of the skills people need to learn is how to wait, relax, and think before they answer. Not too many people do that. By asking the question in advance, you let them do what they should do otherwise. Or by letting them know it aligns with the theme as you stated, they can mentally prepare to speak towards that angle. Your hand is raised, so go ahead. I think you want to clarify something.
Okay, thank you very much, Toastmaster John. Good evening.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
Yes. My question is actually, you said something about meeting the guests before the meeting or getting to know their names, trying to get people to volunteer earlier. So I'm saying if I come for a meeting by 1 and I know I will go for table topics by 2 p.m., I mean, that's 2 hours for me to, regardless of where the question, I might not know the question, but by the time I step out to speak, it's no longer impromptu speaking. That has to be a prepared speech.
Okay. Thank you for that, Toastmaster Ogona. Thank you for the clarification. No. Telling them that you would like them to speak during table topics and they volunteer does not take away from the impromptu nature of the table topics. It just gets their buy-in. They will still hear the topic for the first time when they are called up to speak. It's still impromptu. Please get the buy-in of the guests before you pull them up to speak. Very, very important. It does not steal away from the impromptu nature of the topics. If we still have questions, we can type them or ask them later on. We're going to proceed to speech evaluation before we conclude by 9:30. Speech evaluation. First, I'll ask, what is the essence of evaluating a speech? At Toastmasters, we focus on two things: improving our prepared speech ability, speaking in public, and two, our leadership. When people speak and you evaluate their speeches, please, if you're not speaking, kindly mute your device. Thank you. When people speak and we evaluate their speeches, the essence is so that we can accelerate their growth. When you're evaluating a speech, you need to keep this in mind. Very important. Before you come to evaluate every speech, the speaker should have given you the objectives. We have a slip for evaluation. Please review the objectives. Speak to that speaker and get to know them a bit. Get to know what their focus is. Other than what is stated on that slip, what exactly do they want you to pay attention to? And when you get a sense of who the speaker is, it also helps you streamline your evaluation. All this should be done before the meeting. get to know the proper pronunciation of their names. Very important. We like to hear our names pronounced properly, especially if we like our names. We're not people that we hated the names our parents gave us. No, not those type of people. Most of us, we want to hear our names pronounced properly. Very important, all before the meeting. During the course of meeting, what should you do? Before a prepared speech, the speech evaluator is called up and you're asked about the objectives. Please know the objectives. You can read them or state them out and hand control back to the Toastmaster of the day. Now you're paying attention to the speaker. Pay attention to everything that makes a great speech, meaning right from the point where they are standing up, because your speech really doesn't start from when you open your mouth to speak. It starts beforehand. People observe you. How confident were you when you stood up, when you approached the lectern, your handshake? They're observing all that. The smile you gave when you started the speech, your eye contact, every aspect of a great speech, pay attention to it. But the most important, the primary for this speech is the major objective. When the speaker is done, give your feedback. At Toastmasters, we use the CRC method. Commend, recommend, commend. Commend simply means the positive things they've said that you liked in their speech. Recommend areas of improvement, and commend, you conclude with the positive things once again. Note, please let them know, did they meet their objectives or not? And if they did not, I highly recommend that you let them know it's important to repeat the speech. Why? Because that's a skill that they need to learn to hone their public speaking skills. And if they did not try to learn it, they need to go back and try that. We master things by doing repeatedly. But if we didn't even do it the first time, there's no hope of mastering it. If they didn't get that primary objective right, please recommend that they repeat it. That aside, give a general evaluation for the speaker. Now, note, I told you to get to know the speaker. If the speaker is new and they're nervous, I highly recommend, at least from the stage, that you reduce the number of recommendations you give. Why? Not everyone is equipped to handle constructive criticism. And if they hear you just reel out recommendation one after the other, you may tarnish their self-esteem. You'll have an idea of where they are from your prior conversation. If you did not have that conversation properly, you would not know and you may do damage. However, if they are very experienced and time permits, by all means, read the 10,000 recommendations you have if time permits. This is why I said it's so important that you know the speaker. Very, very important. Come from a perspective that when you are done, the speaker, one, wants to speak again, and two, is equipped with knowledge that will help them be better next time than they were this time. Very, very important. Now, for the recommendations you don't give from the stage, you give them afterwards, because there's a form you should fill. You fill that form, very important that you please return them. Return the form to the speaker, and any recommendation you didn't give beforehand, you can give after. Experienced speakers, you can give more recommendations. Non-experienced and very nervous speakers give less, at least from the stage in front of the audience. The rest give one-on-one. So you don't cripple them, but rather empower them to speak more. Please note that you are also giving a speech evaluator. You're not just reading a report. So you prepare, have your introduction, have your conclusion. The body is the report, the CRC. This is important. Just don't go and read out your report. You're also trying to captivate the audience and carry them along. Yes, you're evaluating one person, but you're speaking to an entire room. Deliver a speech. Once you're done, all you have to do is ensure that that report is given, and any other feedback you can give one-on-one. In summary, because of time, That is what you should do as a speech evaluator. Any questions or comments regarding speech evaluation? And afterwards, you can still ask questions or give comments referencing Table Topics Master. Please go ahead, raise your hand, or type in the chat box. Toastmaster Hioma, please go ahead. You are muted, please.
Good evening, Tim John.
Good evening.
Yeah, on the evaluation of speeches, sometimes you have someone who is so experienced and you can't find any recommendations to make. And it will look funny if the CRC is not completed because you comment, you recommend, and you comment again. So what kind of things can we put under recommend when the person does not have any room for improvement?
Thank you so much for that. It's a great question. Sometimes we cannot pick out areas we have for them to improve upon. You should not feel bad about this. I have been to meetings where people have said, I could not pick out anything for you to improve upon. Meanwhile, I could pick out things for them to improve upon, but I had more experience than those people. Nonetheless, there are situations that you cannot pick out things. Perhaps you are paying attention to specific areas, or because you're comparing them to other people that are not as good, you just feel, wow, they're just so good. It's okay. You do not have to force yourself to find an area of improvement. It happens. It's why we're here at Toastmasters. We're coming from different backgrounds. And if someone is so much better than you, you may not be able to perceive an area for improvement. It doesn't mean they don't have an area. It's just you are unable to pick that area, which is one of the reasons why it's important we actually pick the right evaluator. Someone that is really experienced, it will not be good that somebody starting out evaluates their speeches. For certain meetings, we may not have much of an option, but in planning that meeting, it's good that you choose the right evaluator for the speaker. But please do not feel bad if you cannot pick out any area of recommendation. Ideally, if the person is more experienced and they know the person evaluating them is not so experienced, they would have asked other experienced speakers to also give them evaluations. Does that help, Toastmaster Hioma?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. By the way, officially, we are done for today. I like us to keep within time, 9 to 9:30, but I am still here to answer as many questions as we might have. I do not want people that will feel bad leaving early. I don't want to keep you here. You're free to go and enjoy your weekend and rest Friday night. I'm sure you've had a long week, but we're still here. Officially, we're done. Toastmaster Basira, please go ahead and ask your question or give your comments.
Good evening, Toastmaster John.
Good evening.
My question is, you said during an evaluation, you start with an introduction, the body, and conclusion. And you said for the body, you use the CRC. So could you please help give an example of what the introduction should be like and what the conclusion should be like?
Okay. I like how engage you from the start to the very end. Dear Toastmasters and guests, please can we give a round of applause to Toastmaster Basira because she kept us on the edge of our seats from the start of her speech to the very end. What did I love about her speech? First, did you see her captivating smile? Wow. I almost felt like I should have brought shades to the room. It was so bright. It relaxed the room and we could pay attention to the speech she was delivering. What else did I love? Her topic. Her topic was one that if you read it, you wanted to know what she was going to talk about. And I'm sure all of us here definitely wanted to know what she was going to talk about. As though it's possible, there are a few areas of improvement. For instance, if Toastmaster Basira focused on just one story, I think it would have been easier for her to carry us along. She had multiple stories in her speech, and that way we're not able to fully commit emotionally. If you make that tweak, I think you capture our emotion on a deeper level and help us remember such a quality speech. Nonetheless, the conclusion, oh, it was so powerful. If you want to change your life, start by changing one thing. Most of us try to change so many things, but you kept it so simple, so direct that I know I can change my life if I focus on one thing. Toastmaster Basira, I've seen you grown, and that for me is your best speech yet. I cannot wait to hear your next speech. Toastmaster Basira, does that help you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I'm not sure why you like putting people on the spot, but that's the idea. It didn't feel like I was just reading a report, did it?
No.
No, because I'm speaking to an audience. Just because I'm giving a speech evaluation does not mean I should bore the audience. I need to deliver it in such a way that the audience is also captivated by what I'm saying, even though I'm just evaluating one person. And I'm sure in such a manner, people are able to pick things while paying attention to the evaluation I'm giving. It was a speech, but I still gave my report, had an introduction, had a conclusion, focusing on you, but empowering and keeping the entire audience connected. That was a great question. Thank you for that, Toastmaster Basira. Any other question or comment? So that once we are done, we can now have whoever has something else they want to focus on, we can focus on that before.
Yes, please.
Okay, yes, I see. Is that Versus? I'm not sure what name that is, but it's very unique.
This Toastmaster Victoria.
Toastmaster
Victoria.
Oh, Toastmaster Victoria. Good evening. Please go ahead.
I decided to disguise today.
Please go ahead.
You gave us an advice that when we are evaluating a new person, a very shy person, we should be careful how many recommendations that we make. But most times, especially in my own club, giving evaluation to is being evaluated or being voted for. That's what I mean. And you want to win that aspect of it. So if you don't put in your best, you won't win now. They won't vote for you. So that's a challenge on its own. What do you advise?
Toastmaster Victoria, thank you so much for that question. For the sake of our guests, I'll try and expand on what she said. Generally at Toastmasters meetings, we vote for who we feel was the best evaluator. And what Toastmaster Victoria is saying is, if, for instance, you happen to be evaluating someone who is shy, they're not very experienced, so you don't want to crush their spirit when it comes to speaking, and you follow this recommendation I've given to minimize the recommendations you're giving from the stage, won't that destroy or impede your chances of winning the best evaluator? Which is why I started with a question. What is the essence of giving an evaluation? The essence of giving an evaluation is not to win the best evaluator for that meeting. It's to help the speaker become a better speaker. You have to prioritize. And part of the problem is we don't connect with the speaker before the meeting. Imagine, which happens a lot, by the way, the person you're evaluating has a trauma when it comes to public speaking, and they get to share their years of being pulled down because of that trauma and how hard it's been for them to come to this stage where they signed up for Toastmasters to improve their public speaking. Imagine that type of person. You get the privilege of evaluating them. And rather than considering what will help them improve, you're focused on winning the best evaluator. As a consequence, you come up there and you start reading, improve this, improve this, improve this. Most likely that person is going to be shattered. After building the confidence, summoning all their courage to sign up and deliver a speech, they are only standing or sitting there listening to this evaluation that is so hard to listen to. Do you really think this is going to help them get better? I don't think so. But all this stems from knowing the essence of evaluation and knowing where they are coming from. Do not underestimate the importance of knowing the speaker. It's very important. Now, some speakers may try and hide or lie to you. There's not much you can do there. But if you discover by the little effort of communicating with these people where they are coming from, please prioritize improving the speaker over winning the best evaluator. And I know it's very challenging, especially if you've been winning repeatedly and you're seen as very capable, very good, only to be beaten by newer members. Please, your priority is the speaker, not the ribbon and the award of best evaluator. Toastmaster Victoria, does that help in any way?
It does. But I think we have to review the voting. I think I'll discuss it at my club level. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great question, honestly. It's something for us to consider, but it only applies to good people. Maybe Toastmaster Grace, those people that are concerned about winning. For most of us, who cares about that? We're not at that level yet. Any other questions or comments? Toastmaster Grace, if you're referring to any comments I've made, please do not say anything. But if there's another question or comment, please go ahead.
It's fine. I totally understand. Don't worry, 1-0. So yeah, my own question is this, and I don't know, probably I'm going to describe this scenario for you, and then you just tell me a better way I should have gone about it. So a scenario whereby, sometimes it can be daunting for the vice president education or the president to get role players. And then you're called up probably 30 minutes to the meeting and you're told to evaluate someone. It's always very easy for someone to meet the objective of the goal and you can clearly state it, oh, you've met the objective. But the other way around, the person did not meet the objective of the goal and it now looks like you're the bad person as the evaluator, stating that the person did not meet the project objective and you would advise that the person repeats the project. This is not commonly seen in our Toastmasters, local palace. So I don't know. And in situations whereby you've already gotten feeders that, oh, the person you evaluated is already perceiving you in some light. How do you go about that? Because bear in mind, this person is not your club member. So it's not like there was a prior relationship or the person knows you before then, but you've been told that, hey, the evaluation you gave did not go down well and you were mean, you told the person to repeat. But I mean, we still have integrity. If you didn't meet the objective, you didn't meet the objective. But looking at that situation, how do you think it should have been handled differently?
Toastmaster Grace, thank you so much for that question. Dear Toastmasters and guests, this brief training that we have is for an ideal situation, but most of us, if not all of us, we know life is not ideal, meaning the preparation you could have done in advance, if you're called last minute or even at the meeting, you're not going to have the opportunity to do that. Now, the scenario Toastmaster Grace has painted, she has said it's a club that she does not belong to, someone that she's unfamiliar with, and the person did not meet the objectives, which you clearly stated, because you have integrity, you want them to get better. How do you handle that situation? I don't think there's a one case fits all, but I would say we are human beings and you should handle it as a human being. Call, meet up if you can, figure out where they are coming from, try and let them understand where you're coming from, but more so from your aspect, understand where they are and clearly explain where you're coming from. Because the truth is, many of us won't like each other. We're human beings. The fact that I have no hair on my head, for some of you, you already detest me because you have bad experience with someone else that was bald. There's nothing I can do about that. The fact that I have a beard, same thing. Maybe the sound of my voice, same thing. Or someone else gave you a negative report about me. It happens. We're human beings. We experience these things. You do the best you can to engage with another human being. I think simply explain. I did not mean to offend you, but this is what I saw. And I think it will really help you if they did. Note, by the way, Toastmasters is self-paced, right? We don't have a teacher, students. That's not what we have here at Toastmasters. It's self-paced. It's up to them. But you, with your experience, tell them what you know to be right. But do go out of your way if you are aware something may be off. Even if someone does not tell you, but you perceive, because we have great intuition. We have higher faculties as human beings: perception, reason, intuition, imagination, all sorts of higher faculties. If you perceive something, it will pay you and probably the other person to go ahead and ask, I hope I did not offend you with my evaluation. Just confirm. Hopefully they say yes, but you can read body language. Try and clarify things. It's a relationship with another human being. So do what you would normally do to try and rectify. That's if it existed. In this case, it didn't exist. Or try and create an amicable relationship. It may not happen immediately. It may happen over time, but make the effort to do that. Remember, you're relating to another human being. So please be humble enough to listen, because sometimes when they start speaking, you may not like what they are saying, or you may want to jump in, interrupt, and say, that's a lie. I did not mean that. The way you've learned how to deal with relationships. And that's the beauty of being in Toastmasters. You will have conflicts, and we need to learn how to deal with conflicts. And now you're given the gift of learning how to deal with conflict in this situation. So put it into practice. I think we have some things that deal with that. Whatever you've learned, try and put into practice. You are dealing with a human being. How would you try and improve this relationship normally? Try that. Is it more work? Yes, but we don't get better if we don't put in the work. Toastmaster Grace, does that assist in any way? Fantastic. By the way, if this is something that is ongoing, maybe you can try and improve it and give us feedback at some point so that the rest of us can see how we can apply that to our own relationships that are not working because we told the person to redo their speech, because I do that often, by the way. Is there any other question or comment? Yes, Toastmaster Badmus, go ahead.
I want to make a comment.
Please go ahead.
I really appreciate the question by Toastmaster Grace, because it's a reality. I remember I did that like 3 or 4 years ago, and sincerely during COVID. And sincerely speaking, the Toastmaster was supposed to give a level 3 speech. The purpose of the project was to give a speech of an unfamiliar topic to a familiar audience. I'm sure you understand what that means. Unfamiliar topic to a familiar audience. Familiar audience is the club members. The unfamiliar topic has to be something abstract that we don't understand, and then he should make us understand. And then the Toastmaster now gave a speech on a familiar topic. Please be the judge. Has the Toastmaster fulfilled the purpose of that project? Definitely not. And then the guy was like, did I know the effort he put into writing that speech? I said, I didn't write the project. I didn't write the speech objective. I followed the speech objective and you clearly did not meet it. And I advised, I said the speech was well delivered, but you did not meet the objective of that speech. And the guy never spoke to me again until years later. And he didn't renew his commitment as a Toastmaster. He left the state. Okay, it was a member of a particular club. He left that state to another state. And then he totally forgot about Toastmaster. Somehow I felt bad that we lost him as a member, but I was satisfied that I did what I was supposed to do. At least history will remember that I did something correct. So it was a bit dicey for me, but I didn't regret my comment. So, and then it served as a deterrent to other people, or for them to note that whatever your speech objective is, you need to follow it. That's why it's a pathway. That's why we don't just cut corners in Toastmasters. We do it exactly the way it is. That's why it's self-paced. You should be satisfied with yourself that, yes, I have fulfilled this level, I earned this, and at the end of the part completion, you can beat your chest and say, yes, I followed it through. That was just my own goal. And somehow the guy was not happy, but I had to do what I was supposed to do. And for me, I was fine. But for him, he felt very, very uncomfortable. I'm sure he never liked me after that day. But I can resonate with what Toastmaster Grace is. I feel we have to do what we're supposed to do. But what I have learned from your comment is, even if you want to hit the nail on the head, you need to be nice. I think that's what I can pick up from this. I can't remember if I was harsh when I was saying it. I can't remember if I was not smiling, but I just knew that I was blunt somehow. So basically, I think as Toastmasters, of course, we need to be diplomatic, but we need to say the truth. That's why we have integrity as part of our core values. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that example, Toastmaster Badmus, and for your integrity and for respecting him enough to tell the truth. Let me ask a question. When you had that altercation, did you engage with him outside the club afterwards, call, meet one-on-one?
Yes, because of his reaction after my evaluation, I went back privately to chat him on the group, and I said, this was the reason why I said this. I even underlined what the speech objective was and what his speech was all about. He realized, but as human beings, we have ego. And because he's a guy, he felt like, how dare you female talk to me like that? Or how dare you tell me what I did was not correct? This mentality now, like, I don't know what he felt at that time, even though I was a bit, how would I say, I think I had played many club officer roles at that moment, but he was still feeling like, does that give me the right to give him orders? And that kind of ego, that's what he felt at that moment, seriously. So he just felt like, do I know how much he works to get the money to pay his dues, and then I can just rubbish him in front of everybody? I think that's how he felt, Sha. But I was not sorry for what I said anyway.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Toastmaster Badmus. Now, I'm going to reiterate some things and mention a few other things.
Okay.
One, I would like to remind us that we should please engage with people beforehand to know where they are coming from. Very important. Aside from knowing where they are coming from, it actually helps sort of build a type of relationship. If the person you're evaluating gets to know you and they see that you care, the evaluation you give makes it so much easier for them to accept. Two, when you're engaging with someone after, especially when they're not taking what you've given them in a positive light, I highly recommend that you please do not do it in writing. Please, if feasible, do not do it in writing. Imagine this, everyone, picture this. I am angry and I read a message. Do you think I'm going to read that message with, no, sorry, you did not meet the objective, or you did not meet the objective, and look, this is what is underlined? Which one do you think I am going to read it as? The first, nice, mellow, or the second? Please put in the chat box, which one, first or second?
Second.
The second. The person is not going to be reading it from your perspective. They're angry, they're furious. And who knows how many people they've spoken to say, yes, it's true. What do they mean? We stayed up late rehearsing, days. After work, you were tired, you came. Usually we go to people that will only put fuel in our fire, not people that will calm us down. And after all that, they now read from their perspective. Please, if you can, please do not try and reconcile any issues by writing, especially when you know the person is already upset. Call, but the best is meeting in person. At the least, please call so they can hear your tone and you can be there to say sorry. Look, it's more of a, do you understand where I'm coming from? Most times, please don't get me wrong, I don't know the situation. I'm just trying to speak from past experience, because Toastmaster Badmus, you sound more like me, more direct, and I've had to learn to calm down. And sometimes all I do is just smile, say sorry, and hug people, and they calm down and they're willing to listen. But call, meet in person, and they can hear your tone. So very important. And sometimes it's all about listening. Just listen. And when they have poured out their heart and they see that you're not angry, because most times we want a reaction. You're angry, you want them to be angry so that you can be angrier and you have justification to continue doing what you're doing. But when they're calm, they're there, they just say sorry, that's not the intention, sorry. You find out that they calm down and it's so much easier. So I would say that most likely the typing, because just hearing you out, I feel that you'd have given a detailed typed report breaking down why he should repeat the speech. Toastmaster Badmus, am I right or am I right?
You're very correct. In fact, I had to learn to calm down when I'm giving evaluation so that I don't judge the person. So seriously, I was trying to tell you exactly what I did. So over time, I now realize I don't have to be that hard on him. At least, as human beings, we still have to understand. We show empathy. You understand? At least I appreciate the fact that you put in energy. So that's what I now realized after a while, that you don't have to use the knife. Sometimes you have to be diplomatic, even though you say exactly what it is, but in a nicer way. So that's what I have learned.
100%.
I think Toastmaster Grace can also apply that if that pops up, because as Toastmasters, we learn over the journey. And over time, we have to get better. So please don't be blunt, everyone. Let's learn from that. Thank you.
Yes, please, everyone, let's speak. Let our tone be said in a very sympathetic, empathetic, and caring manner, and be patient enough to listen. Sometimes that's all people want. I'm just reiterating, we're done, by the way. We're just addressing other issues. Toastmaster Ogona, your hand must be tired. You've been raising it up for a long time. We apologize. Please go ahead, ask your question or make your comment.
Thank you very much. No, I just enjoyed the whole topic. This question has raised up, for me, it's like it's raised a canker worm. And I want to if the evaluator feels that the speaker did not meet the objective and he or she recommends, because that is what they do, they don't order, they recommend that the project is repeated. And now some people might have an ego and say,
Toastmaster Ogona, I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's just me, but I can barely hear you.
Is it better now?
Oh, so much better. Thank you. Please, can you restate the question?
Okay, so I'm saying, because Toastmasters is not about master servants, it's not about teacher students, we are all learning together. So if the evaluator feels that the speaker did not meet the objective of the speech and he or she recommends, because that's what they do, they recommend that the project is repeated. And now some people might have the ego issue of, well, that one is your own. I've done it, I've moved on. And where does the vice president education come in? When a speech is recommended to be repeated, can the vice president education stop it on pathways to say, no, this project won't be approved? Or you just let it slide? So at what point do we say the person did not meet it, he has to repeat it?
Toastmaster Ogona, thank you for spilling your worms so that we can all learn from it. Toastmasters is self-paced. We cannot command anyone to do anything. you have recommended that someone repeats the speech and they say, no, that's your business. What can the vice president education do? If you're a vice president education or you're a president in the room, please can you just show by raising your hand? Which means Toastmaster Ogona, please can you put down your hand so I see who the vice president education or presidents are in the room. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If there's anyone else, you can still raise your hand. Now I'm going to, while addressing everyone, specifically address the vice president education and the president. Please note, when you don't have a clear standard of how things are done at your club, it causes problems later on. What do I mean by this? If you clearly outline that when you don't meet objectives in this club, the vice president education is not going to sign off on your projects, on pathways. When new members are inducted, it makes it so much easier for them to know this is our standard. It means have a clear standard for quality meetings, having quality speakers, and let your members know when they join the club. Even as guests, if there's a way of saying it regularly, once the person they know what the standards are, keep to those standards. This makes life easy versus not having a standard or what's off. I think what's off. Having a standard, but the members don't know it. Only at the time when they've completed their speech and they want to proceed, you say no. Oh, then the issue of who do you think you are? Is it because you're a woman? Blah, blah. All this one starts coming up. Make the standard clear. Let members know the standard. Keep to the standard. Easy. And if that's not done and issues arise, then rectify those problems. This is where the vice president education comes in. They need to let everyone know this is it. If this is not met, we're not signing off. In fact, if your standard is so clear and the quality is so high, before the person even pays, let them know, look, this is how it's done at our club. Are you sure you want to join this club? You should be kicking people away because of the high quality you have at your club. And the person is saying, yes, let me join, let me pay. They have signed it. When they join, you remind them of the standard. You did not meet the standard, we're not signing. They need to keep to the standard. But if it's a situation where that is not done, then you have to now start solving things, calming people down. And I advise you quickly have a clear standard. And everyone knows that this is the standard. It is not met, your speech is not complete. Vice President Education, President, please note. Clear standard made known to everybody, and the standard is kept. It does not matter if you have this lofty standard to have fantastic quality pulled out from your members, given to the club meetings, if you're not going to keep it. It makes no sense. You've wasted your time to create a standard. If you don't have those standards right now in your club, I highly recommend that you get one and you familiarize all members with it as soon as possible. It should be part of what you do for new members when they come to the club. Familiarize them with your standards. As I stated, preferably even before they join, so they know what they are signing up for. If you don't have that, please do that sooner rather than later. And if you have that, please keep that standard. Toastmaster Ogona, does that help?
Absolutely, that was beautiful.
The vice president education or the presidents that are available, please, let's try and do that. You don't know how much time it is saving for everyone and how much it's improving your members and the quality of your meeting. And it makes it so much easier for evaluations to be done, because when we know that standard, and one of it is, if you don't meet the objectives, you're repeating your speech, By the time I come up and say you didn't meet the objective, the member already knows this is part of what is expected. I am not made to look like the bad guy. But if we don't have a standard, nobody ever mentions if you kept to the objectives of the speech or not, then anyone that comes and opens their mouth to utter those dreaded words, you did not meet the objectives, that person is labeled as the criminal. Please help the speech evaluators. Toastmaster Hioma, please go ahead.
Thank you, TM John. I'd like to know how the evaluation process works in a contest scenario.
Do you mean for speech evaluation contest?
Sorry, speech evaluation contest.
Okay, speech evaluation contest is the same thing. In this case, you have a test speaker. The test speaker comes, deliver a speech, and all the evaluators, meaning the contestants, are going to evaluate afterwards. You have a certain amount of time where you can write down your thoughts on a piece of paper. When that's done, everyone is taken out of the room. They give their paper to Sergeant at Arms or whoever has been chosen to handle the piece of paper. And afterwards, as they are called upon, they come in, they get their piece of paper, and they do their evaluation. 2 to 3 minutes is the exact same way for normal speech evaluation. It's just that you know now you're competing with others. The other people will not get to hear your speech evaluation. As you deliver your evaluation, you sit down, the next person is called, they sit in the room as well, just like that. But the evaluation itself is similar to every other speech evaluation, except the objectives for that speech is not stated. You do not know the objectives of that speech. You're evaluating it as a normal speech and looking what was good, what can be improved upon, and that is all you're basing it on. Does that help, Toastmaster Hioma?
Yes, it does help. Thank you.
You're very much welcome. I don't see any other hands, and I don't see any other comments. Is there any other person that wants to ask a question? Oh, Toastmaster Odola, please go ahead.
Good evening, Toastmaster John. Thank you so much for this session.
You are welcome.
It's nice to see your face. He asked, for contest sake, how do we get familiar with the speaker before the contest? Is it possible?
For contest sake, you do not do that part. You do not get familiar with the speaker. You are not going to know if there's someone that is comfortable with being evaluated and hearing so many areas of improvement. Why? Because the person that was chosen ideally will be more experienced. They should be very comfortable being evaluated and having constructive areas of improvement shared with them, because you're going to have multiple people evaluate. Somebody that is shy, that does not want to hear that feedback, should not be used as a test speaker. In fact, as much as possible, they want you not to know the test speaker. Why? So you don't have any expo before the contest. That is considered cheating. All those things I referred to that should be done before the meeting, it does not apply here. In this case, you are going to hear the speech right there for the first time. There's no evaluation slip, no objectives beforehand. You just evaluate the speech generally. Does that help, Toastmaster Odola?
Yes, thank you very much.
You are very much welcome. I am loving all the questions and comments that we've had today. I think I've learned so much just from people sharing. I am very grateful. I already feel like I can better handle conflicts now. Toastmaster Grace, please go
Hi,
ahead.
Toastmaster John. Sorry, I just want to make a comment because I noticed we are having questions that surrounding contest, and I had my first evaluation contest experience was not so good because I did not understand certain things about, giving recommendation and feedback, especially in a contest setting. So I'm talking out of experience because this happened to me. So I gave the positive aspect, that's my commendation. And when I got to my recommendation, I gave 4 recommendations. Looking back at the experience now, that is a no-no. So I'm just putting it out there for those who may be partaking in evaluation contests for the first time. You may not want to give too many feedback. Just keep it simple and clean. 2, maximum 3. Don't go beyond 3, because 1, you have time to manage, and 2, you do not want to overwhelm the speaker with too many feedback. It's a contest scenario. So yeah, that happened to me real time, and trust me, I didn't even get past time. And then someone was like, how did you give 4 recommendation? But in my head, I'm like, I did not know. I honestly did not know. I thought the more recommendation that I gave, the more points I had. But yeah, so this is me just putting it out there. You may want to be careful with the number of recommendation that you're giving. Yeah. Back to you, Toastmaster John.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Grace. Just to confirm, did you keep to time or you didn't keep to time? Did you end recommendations?
So 1, I did not keep to time. So I was disqualified because I did not keep to time. I didn't meet up with time. But I know I stated, I have 4 recommendations for you. I stated that because I wanted to be specific with my numbering as well. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Please let us pay attention to what she said. You need to be aware of how much time you have. It doesn't matter how good you are at observing areas of improvement. If you do not keep to time, you are going to be disqualified. 30 seconds above the 3 minutes, disqualification. Please keep to time. And noting what she said, from experience, you have a fair idea of how many recommendations you can give between 2 and 3 minutes. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Grace. Toastmaster John, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you, TM John. Okay, so I would like to ask how to give recommendations or feedback for online contests, or when you are evaluating virtually, unlike when it's a physical meeting and you can talk about their body language, their smile, or other things. How do you do that for a virtual contest, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Odunola. Nothing changes except what you can observe. For a virtual contest, if you cannot see the full body, then you cannot give feedback based on that. Can you see their smile? Yes, you can give feedback based on that. Now, note, for a virtual space, ideally, there's a way you should be placed, meaning you should have space on your right, space on your left, space above. You can give feedback on that. Were they audible enough? Even in the virtual space, they can use gestures. As I've been speaking and training, you've seen me do things like this. You've seen me do things like this. Those are gestures. You can still give feedback based on that. The type of speech you give is the same thing. Introduction, body, conclusion. You give feedback on that. Give feedback on things you can observe in their speech, but bring to the context of a virtual space. The only thing that really changes is how much of them you can see, and that is also determined by their placement of the camera they are using and the spacing within the virtual space, meaning they should be aware enough not to step out of the camera view. Some people may step out to the right, to the left. Give feedback on that. Does that make sense, Toastmaster Odunola? I don't know if you're speaking, but you're muted.
Yes, thank you very much. Very helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're very much welcome. Please, everyone that needs to step out, by all means, we're not going to be offended. We're done by 9:30. We're just addressing any other issues people may have, and that's perfectly okay. Is there any other question, any other comment before we wrap it up for those that are still here? By the way, Toastmaster Odunola, your hand is still up. I don't know if that's new question or comment or the previous one. Okay, hand is down now. All right, I don't see anything in the chat box and I don't see any hands up at the moment. Thank you so much. As I said, by 9:30 we were done. This is for those that have extra questions or other comments. We are here every Friday, 9 to 9:30, but after 9:30, we can address other issues that people may have. Next week, Friday, we are still going to have a session, but I will not be here. I'm going to be on vacation. My vacation starts tomorrow. You're going to have a very capable person handle the session. Please be here. Come with your great questions, your fantastic insights, learn together. I'm sure you're going to have an amazing time, probably more so than when I have the privilege of anchoring this training. Please sign up for the role of Toastmaster of the Day and Speech Evaluator. Why am I saying this? The essence of learning is to master any skill. Mastery comes by repetition. Repeat as fast as possible, not one a year, one a month, as often as possible, so that it becomes part of your subconscious. You do it without conscious effort. The things we've said here, the experiences we've shared, unless you play that role, it's not really going to make sense. You have not really learned those things. If you have not played those roles or you've not played them in a long time, I highly recommend that you sign up for at least one of them and do it often enough to master that role. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Please have a restful evening, and it's been a delight seeing some of you. I know I have to go and call some people and apologize and set up time to talk properly. You are very much welcome. And for all of you saying thank you in the chat box, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm learning so much. You don't understand. The best way to improve is to teach. So you think I'm here for you. I'm also here for me. I need to get better. That's why I'm here doing this.